noticed, especially growing up with my brothers and also growing up in a neighborhood with only boys, when I wore clothes that were in the boys section, if I wore hoodies, if I shared shoes with my younger brother, if I wore the same hoodie, um, the same thing would happen. There, it's a slight tangent, but I don't know if anyone knows the movie Boys Don't Cry, but that movie focuses on a trans man who was violently murdered, and it was on Lifetime. And my mom, instead of interpreting it as being more trans inclusive, she just tried to deter me from any notion of boyhood. So when I started being more quote unquote tomboyish, she threatened to cut me again. My family threatened to cut me in those ways. So immediately I associated um, gender or going outside of girlhood with immediate violence. So that was something I had to grow up with. And then also at the same time, because there's this quietness that comes with being a survivor, there is this notion as a community of being silent about it, quote unquote. I did not even process that I was a survivor or a victim of it until maybe I was 17. And that was because we read A Cut Woman in my senior year of high school, and someone was violently cut in the book. And that still led to a denial because it still did not feel like my experience. And I think similar to Afika, like I was also told, oh, my cut wasn't that bad, quote unquote, time and time again. It wasn't so violent. Like I turned out fine. So a lot of times as a survivor, I denied myself that way. But then on top of that, because I was denied as a survivor in that way, in some ways, it also still denied my non-binariness, because it kind of denied the ways in which I've been harmed by gender or being a survivor of gender-based violence. But then also at the same time, there was this weird notion of not being non-binary enough because I was associated with gender-based violence, because the terminology is female, because it's woman, it's cis. So there were moments where even amongst like queer friends and LGBTQ friends where they would either change my pronouns or they would immediately call me a girl when referring to me and that violence. So it was constantly me having to fight to say that, yes, I am non-binary, but also I'm a survivor of gender-based violence. But also like that's part of the violence of this thing of FGC is that it is only associated with this womanhood before, during, and after the cut. And it was something that I had to navigate, and it was something that I just had to create language for myself in that regard. That, and I think also, again, mentioned it before, but when it comes to access and care, a lot of the times the terminology is only associated with women and girls. So statistically, we don't know where the three of us stand in this. We don't know if we're a part of the 200 million or if we're just misgendered as the 200 million, right? Alongside other things. So I think, yeah, it's just something where I feel like it's this notion of just having to create this language for ourselves and kind of just like being in panels like this or being in like small corners of the internet and be like, yeah, me too. And that's kind of the only documented archive and information we have for ourselves.